Okay. Hi, everybody, and happy Wednesday. So, this week we're talking about data collection and interpretation. For our attendance data collection, I ended up observing the attendance data, which isn't exactly what I wanted to do, but I wasn't actually at school yesterday and I haven't felt well all week, so I haven't taken very much observational data of my students, or at least none in the format that I would have liked to use to actually do the research data collection justice. So what I did was I observed the data in my school attendance book, looked online, and I recorded the information about each of my classes. I teach 4 of them, and I recorded how many days the students were tardy and absent, and broke it down into excused and unexcused absences and tardies. After I collected all of the data and put it all into the system, I calculated the totals for each of the categories and took each of those totals for each of my classes and combined it into an overall collection of data for all my teams. This helped, or all of my classes, which was our overall team of students, and it kept anonymity for the students. I'm not looking at individual student data to actually drive this. I'm looking at overall attendance data. So this is a chart that I made that kind of shows a little bit of the information that we have. You can see that the very large portion, we have our kids in our class about 92.7% of the time, which is pretty good, but not quite up to the state standard that they're setting. Excused absences take up about 2.3%, which is right here in this yellow. Excused tardies, about 0.31. We very rarely have excused tardies. If students are late, they're late without a reason. We have unexcused absences are 2.04% of the time, and unexcused tardies take up about 2.5% of the time. For me, when I was interpreting the data, our team has an average overall attendance of about 92% for all 4 classes. Granted, some classes are higher and other classes are lower. For example, my homeroom was at about 96% attendance, which I was really excited about. Our school focus this year, and just as an overall standard, is making the Pennsylvania statewide performance standard for Pennsylvania regular attendance for students, which is 94.1% of the time students are in school. So we are just slightly under that for our team. Granted, as a teacher, you know that there's a couple students that are going to fall as outliers on this. So my goal is really focusing and trying to get more students to come to school. A little bit of background on this. A few, was it months ago at this point, our principals were trying to figure out what the overwhelming reason for students not coming to school is and what was the last thing that interested them in school was. And one of the main reasons that came back from our school was that students were bored, and so they just stayed home because they were bored. So I'm hoping that increasing the student engagement will really help students find the topics interesting and keep them engaged in what we're learning. In the reviewing the data, we can see that our team currently has a higher rate of attendance than our school in general had last year, which was 84.4%. And in my research, I'm hoping to increase the overall average attendance for my team, and I will know if I've achieved this if during a 3-week period it will be higher than 92% attendance. Granted, that's going to have to also be weighed against my qualitative observational data that I'm collecting as well as my student walkthroughs. A lot of this information I got from Future Ready PA. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a nice night.